Hey everyone, Dave with the Spillproof podcast. Just want to let you know we are still going to be posting our podcast episodes up on our YouTube channel, but we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. Instead of putting the full episode on there, what we're going to do is put small snippets of it, maybe some of the highlights, things like that. And then if you like what you heard, you can check us out where our podcast can be found. So right now, our podcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pandora.
And like, I was like, okay, I'm going to pack a duffel bag where all of our clothes and everything we need for overnight is just going to be in that duffel bag, because I didn't want to bring in 10 bags with us. And we still ended up bringing like my bag, my backpack, your backpack, our duffel bag of clothes, the 2 pack and plays, the pack and play mattresses, all their stuffies, the diaper bag, like our blankets and pillows, because we just like to sleep with our blankets and pillows. So like we still ended up having to get a trawl, like one of those carts, to bring our stuff in for one night.
Yeah. So on the way down and on the way back, as Becky was alluding to, were very different. So I think we pulled some of our friends who have traveled a little bit and kind of picked their brain a little bit on their experience. Because again, we had driven down to Gatlinburg, which apparently was a 12-hour trip. But we stopped somewhere each way, and I think we even caravanned a little bit down. Well, on the way up we did.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
So on the way down, we decided that we couldn't check in very early. So we knew we could check in by 3 for sure.
4. It was 4 o'clock.
By 4 for sure.
Yeah.
Which, we didn't want to have a lot of time hanging around down there where we couldn't get in, or if they wanted to go to the beach, or it just made things complicated. So, what we decided to do was make the decision to drive through the night-ish. We were toying with, basically putting him into bed in the car or leaving at midnight.
Yeah, so like either leaving at like 8 p.m. Or at midnight. And the check-in time was really our deciding factor.
Right. And we knew that there might be a little bit of leeway on that, but it wasn't going to be huge.
Yeah, like we weren't going to get in at 9 a.m.
No, an hour or two swing either way. So we decided to leave at 12 or leave at midnight and drive through the night on the way down. On the way back, as Becky said, we split it up into 2 days. And I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like that was the right call to make. I didn't go exactly the way that we had planned it, but between midnight and basically, what was it, 6-ish? 6
like 7, really, 6:37.
We got a ton of time. I mean, they woke up in...
Well, so that was... The kids being awake and asleep was interesting. They were great. Like, we could not have asked them to be better overnight. And we knew Owen was going to like transfer to the car fine because he's a very heavy sleeper. And I
think we've changed his diaper while he was asleep.
Yeah, because he, goes to the bathroom a lot overnight. So we were like, we'll change his diaper and then we'll put him in the car. And he literally like didn't even wake up for that. I think he like complained about the lights once in the car. That was it.
Yeah.
We got her up and she was like, oh, I'm ready for the day. And we were like, it's midnight. And I was afraid of that because she tends to be like that. So Emily was up in the car from 12 to 1, completely silent. She just sat in the back and chilled. But she was up for the first hour of the drive. And we were like, what is going on? Like, we're driving in the car. Like,
it was dark.
Like, the car running kind of makes its own natural white noise.
We had thought that we were going to maybe put a sound machine in the vehicle. And we ended up not, only because the power cooler didn't allow, the plug was too big. But we were going to put the sound machine on to try to help them fall asleep a little bit better. But we didn't end up doing that. Although I don't know that we really needed to.
Yeah, because like the car on the highway just kind of like replicated that. But so she was up from 12 to 1, which we were like, Of course she is.
Mm-hmm.
She, like I said, she didn't cry once. She just sat there and just kind of like looked around. She must have been incredibly bored. But then eventually, just after 1 o'clock, I think she fell asleep.
Mm-hmm. And then when we stopped for gas,
they
both of them
woke up. Yeah, I think around 3 o'clock, maybe like 3:15 a.m., we were like, we're going to stop really quick for gas. That way we're not stopping at like 5 a.m., which like if they woke up then, they might not fall back asleep because they typically wake up between like 6:45 and 7 a.m. So there's like a chance
and
that
that was like what, Pennsylvania we stopped, I want to say?
Yeah. But there was a chance that like if we stopped around the 5 a.m. time frame that they would like wake up and not go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So that was scary because they both were all of a sudden like wide awake. But
Yeah.
Owen was really cute. Like he was super happy. We had told him what was going to happen the days leading up to it because he's just the type of kid where like you got to like give him a heads up.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, hey, on this night, we're going to put you in the car. And when you wake up, you're going to be in the car and we're going to vacation. We're going to the beach house. And when he woke up, he was so happy.
Yeah, he actually commented on a couple of things that he saw.
Yeah.
And then he went right back to sleep.
Yeah, he went. Em took a little bit longer to fall back asleep, but they both went back to sleep.
And they stayed asleep. And we made a great amount of time. After that, I don't think we stopped. I think we drove until they woke up.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that really made the trip go so much smoother. It was a bear to drive because I drove basically.
You did the whole way.
I did the whole way that time.
And I stayed up with you at like 4 or 5 o'clock. I was like, I need to close my eyes for a little bit, but then I only ended up closing them for like 10, 15 minutes. Which like we probably should have like done a better job of maybe like switching off and on to let each other sleep. Because it took me like 2 full days to recover.
I was fine.
You were pretty good, but I was like, I really struggled like the first night, and then like I think I went pretty much right to bed after the kids went down. We played like one game, and then I went to sleep. And even the second day in the afternoon, I was like, oh gosh, I'm struggling.
I think that was really due to lack of coffee because we only had 1 cup of coffee every morning.
That and also just not getting. It for whatever reason.
I was fine.
Just hit me. I know you were fine.
I bounced back immediately.
Yeah. I will say the one I didn't mind driving through the night at all. And I liked that we made a big chunk with the kids primarily asleep. The one thing I did not like was the fog. So probably like an hour and a half in, we hit this fog that like
engulfed everything.
Like you could see 10 feet in front of you, and it's pitch black at night. And like the way we were going, it's like
it was
through
mountains.
These like mountains and cliffs
and windy roads.
If you've ever driven on Route 15, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And like New York, Pennsylvania, but it was terrifying. It was terrifying because this is the route that I took to college too. So I knew when there was like, okay, this turn we're on, like there's a cliff right here. And like we can't see 15 feet in front of us. So it
was like something out of that movie, The Mist.
Yeah, it was. And then like it would be fine. Like the mist or the fog would go away. And every time Dave would go, I think we're out of it. And then like 10 minutes later, we would drive back into the fog. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. Like I would hold my breath and Dave would be like, we're okay. We're doing fine. And I mean, it kept us awake, but I was like slightly terrified.
There was no traffic. There was no traffic or anything either. So it was just us.
That's true. Yeah.
But you couldn't use your high beams because you did the high beams and it blinded everything.
Yeah. You couldn't see anything.
So you could see like nothing in front of you.
Yeah. So that was hard because like, you have your 2 babies in the back and you're like.
That was one thing that we wanted to make sure of is obviously there's some risks that come with driving through the night.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that we were as safe as possible. Obviously having ourselves, but also our kids in the car. So we took every precaution we possibly could. It was part of the reason why Becky stayed up in the car with me, just to make sure, because we didn't listen to music all the way down through the night. That is, we didn't watch anything. We barely even talked because we really didn't want to keep the kids up. there were a couple times where we did have some conversations, and they actually started to stir. So
Yeah, we like whispered a little bit on the way
I
down.
think at one point I might have popped in an earbud in one ear
You
and listened to
did?
something.
On the way down? I thought that was on the
No,
way
it
back.
was on the way back. You're right.
When
It
I
was
was
on the way
driving,
back.
though.
That's right. It was on the way back. No, on the way down we listened to absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
So
Yeah.
and it was a little hard. I won't say it was easy by any means.
Because
I've done it a bunch.
You drove through the night with no music,
Mhm.
with barely any conversation, with just like whisper chats.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've done it a handful
with no
of times.
music?
No.
I was going to say, that's what I mean. Like,
It was
there
like
was
music
no
blaring,
music.
4 windows
yeah,
down,
right? Like,
driving a stick shift.
this was like, and we didn't want to make it too cold for the kids.
Mhm.
So, like, it was interesting.
Yeah. No.
I'm glad we
never drive
did it,
just like that.
but
In 9 months, we're going to be doing this again. I still think we're going to drive through the
me
night.
too. Yeah, I still think on the way down we're gonna drive.
On
through
the way
night.
back, I think we'll still stop. But on the way down, totally drive through the night.
Yeah.
We might. I think moving forward, what we'll do is we'll stagger it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you drive first and I sleep.
Yeah, and then we've been really good about
Because I can sleep in a car, no problem.
Yeah.
I can sleep anywhere, no problem.
But we were good about, like, I would check in with you and be like, "Are you good? Do you need me to take over?" And the same, even on the way home, when like I drove a little bit more, you would be like,
Mhm.
"You good?"
Yeah.
So
Oddly enough, the way I was able to stay awake was these little sausage snacks that I that I had,
oh
and I was
gosh.
like, I had it in my mouth, and then I was slowly trying to unwrap the casing off of it while I was driving with just my mouth. It made some really gross noises.
Yeah. So like as the passenger and someone who doesn't love hearing other people chew,
Mm-hmm.
I had some thoughts about it, but I was like, he's driving. This is what's keeping him awake. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
But like,
It's the equivalent of driving through the night while trying to like tie a cherry stem in a knot and then continuing to do that. It was like the same thing. It kept my concentration.
It
up.
kept your concentration, but like it was pretty gross sounding.
It didn't sound great.
I didn't say anything until like you made a comment, and I was like, yeah, it's a little hard to take.
But it worked.
But it worked, and it kept you up. So I
Mhm.
didn't say anything until you brought it up first, but in my head I was like,
Yeah.
this is horrible.
Yeah, because all you heard was like,
Yeah. And like I said, we weren't like chit-chatting that much at that point because
No.
we didn't want to wake the kids up. But it works though. Like we made really good time.
mhm.
By the time the kids woke up, we were ready for a stretch.
Were
And
we up to
break.
DC by that point?
we stopped right after we got past DC.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is what? How many hours?
Just about 6. A little. We stopped a little after. No, we made
great time.
We made great time. We stopped around like 7. So we were like past. We ran into like a little bit of congestion around DC.
Mhm.
It wasn't like true traffic, but it was just like a lot of people on the road.
Mhm. Yeah, recommendation for if you're traveling around that area or traveling in general, using Google Maps is probably the easiest thing to do. I know iPhone users probably use Siri or whatever the Apple equivalent is, but Google Maps is great because it'll not only give you like the route, but it'll give you reroutes for accidents,
High traffic.
Mhm. Police like Waze does.
Mhm.
But it also gives you the most accurate route based on when you're leaving and
Yeah.
when you're actually going to get there. So we drove through, or I'm sorry, we drove around DC, which any normal person would do, but we went like far into Virginia going down. Like we went kind of far around it, I think, and it actually saved. The distance might have been a little bit longer, but the time it saved was like
Mhm.
a ton. On the way back, we had the opposite effect, and we got stuck in breakdowns and all sorts of stuff. But Google Maps, if it ever makes a suggestion, just take the suggestion.
Just take it.
It'll be the right
knows.
call.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everybody has a phone. Google's tracking all of our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Probably tracking this conversation right now. But it really helped having that. Now, we've used Google Maps or Google Directions, whatever you want to call it, for pretty much for all of our trips.
Yeah.
And it's definitely saved some time, and it definitely gave us the best route, 100%. And coming back, it was a completely different route.
Mm-hmm. So we did stop so we got gas around 3 a.m. and then we did end up stopping around, what was it, like 5 a.m., which like we didn't want to. We did end up stopping around 5 because we both had to pee really bad because we were drinking coffee and like Coke Zero and just stuff to, like water.
Everything that was caffeinated, water.
Yeah, just like, so by 5 a.m. we were like, oh my gosh, we really have to go to the bathroom. And we didn't want to like spend too much time going to the bathroom because we had we didn't want the kids to really wake up. So
and anywhere we were going to stop was going to be well lit. It was going to be potentially loud with trucks coming through.
Yeah. So we ended up like pulling over on the side of the road essentially. And we had gotten, obviously, like Dave just did his thing. But for me, we got one of those, like, I don't know what they're called, but it's like a little contraption that I use so I could like go to the bathroom standing up. And it worked. I wish I had practiced more before we went.
The directions say you should practice.
Yeah, the directions were hilarious. But they did say that I should practice. And
shower.
I didn't because I probably
there was no good reason.
There was no good reason. But like if I had practiced, I think I could have done it in the car, which sounds gross, but like then we wouldn't have had to stop. But I did use it. But by that point, I had to pee so bad that like, you know, I'm like standing going, but then I kept having to like change where I was standing because
it's called
there
a
was
sunny.
So much pee. A sunny, yeah, it worked. If you're going on a long car trip and you maybe right now with everything,
don't want to go into like
you don't want to go into.
Well, let's explain this too. So we got the sunny for you.
Yeah.
But we also got off Amazon, of course, a 5-gallon jug with a spout. And you know, I think it was like $7 or $8.
Yeah, and we brought our favorite hand soap.
And we brought a hand soap that we were going to have down at the beach house anyways, because you got to bring your own soap. And we just had it hanging outside of the sliding door, just plop it down.
Yeah, so we were able to wash our hands whenever we wanted.
We washed our hands. We washed the sunny. Yeah. I mean, if we honestly needed to, we could have drank the water because it was just regular tap water.
Yeah. But that was smart, I think, because there were a couple times when like we did go into a rest stop and like got like fast food or whatever, and we just like, you just wanted to like use
you want to do something more than sanitizer.
Yeah, like you just or like I remember I did like fast food at a a McDonald's, and they had like touch screens to order food, and then they had hand sanitizer in there. And like we had our own hand sanitizer, but like I just felt like I needed to like physically wash my hands, not just use hand sanitizer. So that was awesome because like it's the antibacterial soap that we use, and then just use our little spout, and we were good. Went off the side of the car.
Honestly, we probably a 2-gallon one would have been
easier.
The
5-gallon.
The 5-gallon was a little
big.
bit much. I mean, going down and coming up, we still probably had 3 gallons, I want to say, but we used it to rinse out the bottles too. So once they had their morning bottle, we rinsed it out and put it back in the cooler, which is actually probably a good thing to mention too. Some of the things that we brought. So we had the 5-gallon jug of water. We had the sunny. We had a power cooler, which was fantastic because obviously both kids currently are drinking 1% in whole milk. So for their bottles and stuff like that, we were able to bring actual, 2-gallon or a gallon jug of milk.
A gallon of each, yeah.
2 gallons total. And that thing worked great. It's got a plug so you can plug it into the wall, which we did at the hotel. Even though the hotel had a refrigerator, we still did that. We had a power inverter. I don't remember if we ended up using that or not. We did. Actually, we did. So the power inverter has a plug for the car, but then has like a normal outlet, like a house. And what we ended up doing is we've actually got this cheap little baby monitor. We got it off Amazon. I think it was like $50. The range is pretty much crap, but the sound quality and picture is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the picture's great on it, and the sound.
It's better than our Motorola. Our Motorola is awful.
Yeah, the one on this smaller one was the picture was way better.
Mm-hmm. But it's smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So what we ended up doing is, unfortunately, because it's a baby monitor, the scope of what it can see is fairly limited. But we hooked it up to another thing that we had, which was an iPad holder, so the kids could watch something should things go completely awry.
Mm-hmm.
We got an iPad holder that's hooked up to the headrest, so you can put your iPad up there and watch anything that you happen to download. Thank goodness for downloading things from Netflix and Disney
We
Plus.
only had to use that like
on the way home.
On the way home.
Yeah.
We were good on the way there. And
Yeah,
there
no.
was just like one time on the way home where we like, it was dire.
Yeah, it was like
the last
30,
day and we were like, here you go.
last
Please
3
be
hours or something
quiet.
like that. But so what we did is we hooked it up to that, and you could I think we mostly watched Emmy just because she was up more.
Yeah,
so we could see when she fell asleep. But that was actually kind of nice. So it was a short range thing. Able to plug it right in, and honestly, it worked great. And I think we'll do it again. I honestly wish we had 2 of them.
Yeah.
Just so we could see both kids in the back.
And then we used that monitor at the house, at the beach house.
We did, which was our plan all along. But using it in the car was actually,
it was like a last minute.
It was a last minute
thing.
Decision. It wasn't anything that we had planned, but I just was like, hey, you know what? We've got this thing. We could plug it into the car. I wonder if it would work. And Becky was obviously the voice of reason, which is, well, you can only watch one kid. I said, well, I guess we got to pick our favorite.
We just knew that Emmy was going to wake up when we put her in the car.
She doesn't.
The second you pick her up, she's like, what's going on?
She's the
Is
lightest
the day
sleeper
starting?
in the world. Lightest sleeping baby. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that we had. Obviously snacks and things like that.
Yeah, we had you actually did this. So Dave had packed like a box of snacks with like individually.
Oh yeah, that was a good thing.
Like individual snack sized
so
things for the kids. So it's like the little
it's a snack bag.
A snack bag.
It's a snack Ziploc
so like smaller
bags.
than a sandwich Ziploc.
It's a third of a sandwich bag.
Yeah. But
I don't know how your kids are, but Owen's into whole thing. So if you hand him something or he sees it, for instance, the bag of animal crackers today.
Yeah.
Instead of pulling it out, he wants the whole thing.
Yeah. So like you can't just give him 2. He wants the whole thing. So we thought this would be a good way to give him, here's the whole thing. Here's a whole little bag for you.
So we brought blueberry Cheerios, regular Cheerios, these awesome like veggie infused goldfish things, which they just love.
Yeah, they have carrots in them.
Yeah, they're actually they don't taste bad. They're very
pretty good.
Very high in sodium. But we had obviously green
some like
packets,
clementines
applesauce, clementines.
in the cooler.
We had colorful, which is berry Captain Crunch.
Yeah, but Owen calls it colorful because there's colorful.
I think I said it's colorful once, and he just assumed that
that's what he calls it. Yeah,
it's colorful. But we had all these little things. Popcorn. We had some popcorn on the way back, actually.
Yeah, we had them ready to go. Graham crackers was the big one. Yeah, that was big.
Kids are really into that, and Emmy's 1 year old now, so she can have honey graham crackers.
And it was stuff that we felt confident with them kind of snacking on in the car.
Something they wouldn't choke on, and if it was super messy, we could vacuum it up.
Exactly. Yeah. So, we also left. So we have a third row in our van, and we left one seat up in the back.
Yep.
So that way, if one of us had to like go back and calm them down, or if like they typically set each other off. So if like one of them starts crying, the other one starts crying. So if we went back there, we could kind of just like grab their attention or like read them a book or just like play peekaboo with them.
And we had learned that from our last trip.
We did.
When we rented a van before we owned one, because we had to go back there multiple times, and it's just not safe driving, especially in traffic, not strapped in. It didn't make any sense. So we did leave a seat up for that, and that was something that we learned. And we had the option of we have another vehicle that has like every safety nanny in the world on it. It practically drives itself.
But third row.
But it's no third row. And we could have fit everything in there, even on the roof rack, because we got crossbars for it and all that. But
we made the choice to go with the van.
Yeah.
So that way we did have that
that option of going back there. And it, honestly, I think it was great. The one thing I will add, and the one thing that we are going to add next time we bring, is one of those little grabbing claw arm things. So the kids tend to drop stuff in the car and be like...
On purpose.
One of them does.
Emmy drops all of her stuff on like the side of her car seat that is on like the door side. Mm-hmm. So it's impossible to reach while you're driving.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever seen those. A lot of senior citizens have it, or people who can't grab things or bend over, whatever.
Or just like the plastic dinosaur ones.
The plastic dinosaur ones, yeah. Now I think we've got something. I think Mom has something that we can borrow. But that is something that you absolutely need, because like even if you can get your belt off, you have to then like lean over the kid to get it, and it just, or you could just turn around and put it between the door sill and you and get it. So
you like realize how flexible you still are with how you like maneuver through the car when there's not a lot of actual like space to put your feet. You're like, oh.
Thanks for listening to the snippet of this episode. Full episodes can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. As always, we love feedback. Throw it in the comments or write to us at spillproofpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.